What's up, everyone? Sorry about that, my computer was a bit slow, so I started a few minutes late. Hopefully you guys don't mind. I see Tim is in the chat. What's up, Tim? So, yeah, this week, yeah, I can say this week, right? So, yeah, this week is basically going to be a pretty crazy week. We have a ton of tech earnings. We have a ton of crypto is going to have its big week. You can see that the chart I'm showing right now, that let me take a look for Ethereum and Bitcoin. You can see that on the weekly chart, both cryptos broke out of the resistances it's been in. Ethereum right now is testing the 9 EMA on the weekly, which is a crucial resistance it needs to break in order to go in an uptrend again. You can see that Bitcoin's, it's kind of, it's 2K away from the 9 EMA. I think it's going to go there by this week. I see people in the chat. So yeah, so if you guys haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. Make sure to like this stream so more people can see it. And make sure to share the screen because, more people see it, I try more stuff, and you guys are going to get more trading ideas. So without further ado, let's get started. So make sure to put the tickers in the chat. Currently, I drew a falling wedge on Ethereum using the bodies. You can see that it's a bullish pattern, and Ethereum did break out of it thanks to the B word event. It pumped crypto, and with earnings come out next week, right? First of all, crypto is going to have a pretty great week leading up to earnings because Tesla's going to have earnings tomorrow after market close. That's when we can see if Tesla still has Bitcoin on its balance sheet. And there also has been a bunch of Apple rumors about Apple purchasing Bitcoin, which will be released on Tuesday when Apple has earnings, and we can check its balance sheet whether or not it has Bitcoin or not. If Apple does have Bitcoin, you can expect Bitcoin to start mooning. But if Apple doesn't have Bitcoin, you are going to see a bit of a pullback. But also Tesla can also pump it. So there's a lot to expect next week. And keep in mind, there's also going to be FOMC Tuesday and Wednesday regarding rates. I think on Thursday there's going to be jobless claims. So there's going to be a ton of stuff happening next week. So we just have to see. We have to stay safe, stay risk managed, right? The market isn't always going to be bullish. Next week can be a correction. We do not know, right? The September correction was super sudden, and each correction is just that sudden. So let's see here. Oh yeah, and before I go any further, let me just quickly get a link. So yeah, make sure to put these tickers in. And also, hold on one second. I do see both of my mods in the chat. Make sure you guys behave yourself. No, I'm just kidding. I know you guys are gonna behave yourself, but yeah, make sure to put these tickers in. I got two mods. I got Tim, which his name is Audi, and I got Ron. But before we get started, I do want to introduce our sponsor for today's stream. And I'm going to show you their website right now. Our sponsor today is Step Mobile, and if I can open a new tab and my laggy computer can actually work. So Step is basically it's a banking service, and once you create a Step account, you'll be able to create your own Step card to spend wherever it is accepted, which is Visa. And basically, it's the function like a debit card where you can have a job, get an allowance, and deposit money into it. It's basically like a credit card, and you can build your credit with it, and it's really good for teens. And I'm gonna actually paste the link of Step in the description, not the description, the chat. And yeah, make sure to check it out. It's completely free. You don't have to pay any fees, no monthly, no overdraft, no ATM fees, no service fees. The money is safely in there, FDIC insured. And also, you can get this card if you're under 18. This is perfect for teens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste the link in the chat. Make sure to check it out. I know Tim personally uses it. Tim really loves it. Tim, how's Step? Yeah, Tim can tell you his experience with Step. I know he loves it, so ask Tim. You can DM him and everything. So Someone's asking me, do I alert at avocado investors? I do actually alert there. I'm actually pretty active there. My friend owns it, and I just alert there. So yeah, I do alert there. So without further ado, I'm going to start, charting some tickers. So as I go through the chat, the only step I got is a stepsister. You're so funny, Tim. Okay. So without further ado, let's get started. And excuse my chart right there. I was charting Neo. This is a questionable inverse head and shoulders. I won't take this too seriously. I did post on my Twitter. Okay. So if I scroll up the chat real quick, someone's asking me AZN and DocuSign. So let's do AZN first. AstraZeneca. So basically for the whole entire healthcare sector, I think I'm pretty bullish on it, right? For Moderna, obviously it got added to the S&P, which is pretty bullish, right? Last time Tesla got added to the S&P, it made a pretty big run. I'm expecting Moderna to do the same and do a pretty big crash. And also, if you look at the other tickers, right, Novavax, you can see Novavax has a giant inverse head and shoulders. It's been in this range for a while now. It's looking for a breakout. And also Johnson & Johnson, right? Johnson & Johnson's forming this giant, you can say, ascending triangle up here. Or you can call it ascending wedge, right? Which is pretty bullish, and I'm expecting Johnson & Johnson to also break out to the upside. So looking at AstraZeneca, I don't really see any specific pattern on it, but I am pretty bullish on the whole sector, and I do know that AstraZeneca is going to go along with it. Keep in mind, there's also earnings for AstraZeneca this week on Thursday, I think. So there might be a run up and there might be a crash, who knows, but just be careful. And the next stock is going to be DocuSign. Oh, someone's asking me, can I chart Airbnb? I definitely can, and I'm going to do that after I chart DocuSign. So DocuSign, I did have a rising wedge. It did break out slightly, but it recovered right away. It's currently still within the same resistance line though, roughly in the same resistance line. You can see that over here. And if I chart out support, right, you can see that this is kind of support. So this can be another rising wedge on the daily, but if I go on a slightly smaller time frame, let's say 3 hour time frame, right, you can see a smaller scale rising wedge on it. Over here, this is support. So there's another rising wedge on it. So I am expecting a rising wedge breakout on DocuSign tomorrow. Depending on where it opens, it's possible it can gap down and open down, already breaking out, or opens flat, or maybe slightly gaps up and then breaks down. Either way, I'm expecting a breakdown on DocuSign next week, or at least tomorrow. At the very least tomorrow. What do I think about Uber puts? Let me first chart Airbnb, then I'll chart Uber. So for Airbnb, what happened to my chart? There we go. I did chart out this rising wedge a while ago. If you guys remember from the streams when I was away in vacation in June, I started charting out this rising wedge saying Airbnb is probably going to go all the way down and double bottom. Sure enough, Airbnb did go all the way down and double bottom, and it did bounce. But what do I see now on Airbnb? So currently I do see consolidation going on, right? If you go on the hourly chart, you can see that there is consolidation. It's trying to decide which direction it wants to go to, right? You see descending resistance and you see flat support. So it is kind of forming like a flag, a descending triangle. Usually when descending triangles form when there's after an uptrend, it usually breaks to the upside. So I do expect Airbnb to do the same, but keep in mind that this week is going to be an earnings week. It can really shake up the market, and Airbnb doesn't have earnings that soon. It has on September 1st. So historically, which is the last two earnings, Airbnb reacted negatively towards earnings. Also, looking at the chart, Airbnb does have a giant inverse cup and handle. So there is a chance that Airbnb can retest this support here one more time and possibly go all the way back down to the 52-week low around 121. So that is a possibility, but there is an upside to Airbnb and it has been consolidating, and chances are that can also be a bull flag. All right, now looking at Uber. Uber's kind of the same thing. Actually, yeah, Uber looked really similar to Airbnb, right? Look at this. That looks really similar. I've actually never noticed that, right? I drew this falling wedge on Uber. Sure enough, it broke out. So now what do I see? So similarly to Airbnb, it looks like it is consolidating around this area. I'm expecting this to be a bull flag, right? You can see that there is descending resistance, ascending support over here. So there's going to be a breakout tomorrow. I'm expecting this to break to the upside, but depending on markets tomorrow, this can possibly break to the downside. So yeah, we'll just have to watch it. But this is Uber is pretty similar to Airbnb. I've actually never noticed that. But you can also say that there's an inverse head and shoulders over here, right? Possible inverse head and shoulders. We'll just have to wait and see what it does tomorrow. It can possibly go back down to retest support around $47, but there's a chance that it's going to break out of that consolidation it's been in right now. Thoughts on fuel cell swings. So fuel cell did go down along with EVs last week. I did play fuel cell anticipating that retest, but you know, after the retest, it kept retesting. So fuel cell did double bottom around this area, around $6.30 before bouncing back. I am expecting fuel cell to bounce back, mainly because of the Tesla earnings tomorrow. There is going to be hype for that, and also if Tesla does do good on earnings, that's going to be really good for the EV sector. So fuel cell can bounce back on the smaller time frame for fuel cell. You know, it is consolidating. This does look like a bear flag, so it's possible it can go back down for a retest again tomorrow, or if it does gap up above the 9 EMA, we can continue to recover. So fuel cell, keep in mind, fuel cell did successfully retest the resistance. It's not back into the falling wedge, which does tell me that fuel cell can break up again. So I'm still bullish on fuel cell. I think it's holding resistance, right? It's holding it. It hasn't broken back down, which is showing strength. All right, next stock is going to be EDU. Oh wow, okay. So just looking at this, I'm pretty sure that these are one of the Chinese companies, these Chinese education companies that died. Another one is TAL, and I think there was a recent China news policy that came out restricting these types of companies again. So I'm expecting a big gap down tomorrow. I won't invest in these like TAL, GoTo, EDU, these companies. I won't buy them just for the fact that there's a ton of China news on these, and just looking at it, this fell from $20 all the way to $3, which is crazy. It's absolute crazy. So I won't touch these stocks for now. Next stock is Dash. So DoorDash also has earnings pretty soon. Actually, not pretty soon. August 12th. Wow, look at these past drawings I drew out. See, DoorDash had this ascending broadening wedge. Sure enough, it broke out. Did bounce back though. So what do I see on DoorDash right now? Well, looking on the daily, I do see a rising wedge forming. And if I chart that out right here, you can see that there's resistance up here. DoorDash does have more room to go up, so no need to be alarmed. Right, for resistance, this was a gap down, so you don't really have to pay attention. I do see a rising wedge forming. It's a pretty giant one. It's going to take a while for it to break out. And looks like breakout is around earnings time, so you know, that's where the make or break happens. But until then, DoorDash I think is just going to bounce around the zone, right? If I just release this out, it's just going to be bouncing between these two lines until it does break out. So I am expecting DoorDash to break to the downside, but there is always a chance for DoorDash to surprise me and break to the upside. So you know, there's always a chance. And whenever DoorDash does break out of a pattern, it breaks out pretty significantly. You can see DoorDash had a falling wedge over here, and sure enough, DoorDash went from $190 all the way to, it went up like almost $30, right? So DoorDash is pretty crazy with these patterns, especially with this rising wedge, as big as this rising wedge, right? Breakout's going to be pretty violent. let's see here. I'm just reading through the chats right now. So for the people that are joining, make sure to like the stream. Make sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I know that. Hold on one second. Yeah, I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to ask questions, and you know, who doesn't like seeing me chart tickers, right? You get new ideas, and you know, and also my watch list is going to be coming out later tonight, so stay tuned for that. But let me scroll through the chat real quick. Can I chart Nvidia? Sure. So let me chart Nvidia. And also, I'm gonna stay here till 9:15 today. So there might be a chance where I can't go over your ticker, and if that's the case, then you know, DM me on Discord. Okay. So for Nvidia, I did chart this out. Currently, it's playing out. This is a descending broadening wedge, which is bullish, but it does show that Nvidia possibly has more downside, or it can break out to all-time highs again. So do keep out for that. GE, General Electric. Let's take a look at that. So General Electric, it looks like it's possible could be forming this giant around the top. If I chart out resistance, which is over here, and I chart out support, it is possible this is a descending broadening wedge, but yeah, I guess this qualifies. Yeah, this is a descending broadening wedge. I do think this is going to break to the upside. This is a bullish pattern. Amazon. So for Amazon, I do remember saying that it's going to retest the resistance, and sure enough, Amazon did retest the resistance zone, right? So Amazon has been in this giant box for a year, and ever since Amazon broke out, it did do a retest, which is successfully held, and it did bounce right off, which is good news for Amazon. It is bullish. Amazon does have earnings on the 29th, so in 4 days. So just keep in mind that it's gonna be pretty. It's gonna be pretty. Let's say it's gonna be pretty choppy for Amazon if it doesn't do well. It's gonna have. I would assume that's gonna have an earnings run up, and also if it does do well in earnings, we'll expect it to go to all-time highs again. Can I chart Peloton? So for Peloton, I was looking at this earlier, and for Peloton, it does have an inverse head and shoulders. It actually has a really nice one, and I did draw out the zone of this you know, resistance, and sure enough, Peloton is kind of bouncing around the zone right now. Just last week, it did bounce off the zone, the bottom of the zone at 117.9. But yeah, I do see an inverse head and shoulders on Peloton, and this was one of the stocks I was including on my watch list because it does look pretty nice if you look at it, right? And once this inverse head and shoulders break out, it's gonna probably retest somewhere along the 143 range. I do think it's gonna be a pretty large breakout. Qualcomm. So for Qualcomm, let's take a look. I have no idea what that line there is for, but looking at Qualcomm, looks like it's been trading sideways for like the past few months. Let me see if my chart doesn't lag. Okay, so for my trading view is laggy. Hold on one second. Okay. Okay, so for Qualcomm, excuse me, my trading view is so laggy. Hold on one second. I don't know why my trading view is laggy. Okay. So if I chart out resistance for Qualcomm, it's going to be around this area. Why is my computer so slow today? Okay. Yeah, I have no idea why my computer is laggy. Hold on one second. Let me try fixing this. Can you give me the link to avocado? I cannot find it. I don't know if any of the mods are still in here. If Ron or Tim is still in here, you can send Shiv Kumar an invite to avocado. I do work there as long as other servers. But I do want to say this YouTube channel is not affiliated with any server, but I do work at multiple servers, so just just be aware of that. For Qualcomm, I do see a straight line resistance, ascending support. This can be an ascending triangle forming. In fact, I think it is, but it still has a bit more room to go. So just be patient with Qualcomm. I think breakout's going to be happening around August 6th to August 9th, that area. So all right, next stock is going to be AMD. So for AMD, so I did draw this falling wedge. Sure enough, it did break out. I think it has more room to go up. I think it might double top around 95, or possibly breaking all-time highs. So AMD has been in this consolidation stage, kind of like Amazon, Apple, all these tech stocks. I know Netflix is still in it, but Nvidia broke out a long time ago. But AMD is still in this box. So if I go on the weekly, because that's literally how long it's been in this box for, right? You can see that the resistance zone is around, it's around, I did not use this tool correctly. Hold on one second. So it's around this area. So that's the whole zone. For resistance is around like this zone right here. So AMD needs to break this box for it to actually reach new all-time highs and possibly go higher, which is around $99. So yeah, AMD has never reached $100. So possibly AMD can reach $100 with earnings run up, with bullish markets, or it can just never go there. So AMD's earnings is July 27th, which is in 2 days. So it's basically like a make or break for AMD. So there may be a run up for AMD, or they may not, but I do think AMD is going to retest the 95 range. So possibly there is going to be a retest. It also depends on tech earnings on Monday and Tuesday. If they're shit, then AMD is not going to do well. So can I do J&J? Sure. Okay, so J&J. Let me take a look at J&J. J&J. So J&J, I think I did go through this earlier, right? Healthcare sector bullish, all that. So if you haven't seen that already, just make sure to scroll back in the stream, and I have talked about that. For Tesla, all right. So Tesla actually has earnings. Did I chart in Tesla? Okay, Tesla. So Tesla does have earnings tomorrow after market close. Tesla is in this giant symmetrical triangle, which is neutral. Historically, Tesla has done well in earnings, I think. Yes, Tesla has been. Has Tesla done well in earnings in the past? No, it hasn't. So this time Tesla gapped down. I'm sorry. This time Tesla gapped down. Tesla gapped up on this earnings. And gapped up. So recently Tesla has not been doing so well in earnings, and I would have expectations for Tesla to not do well in this earnings, just because of the fact of all the bearish news of China and all of like how Tesla competitors are starting to go up. Also, CCIV vote merger for Lucid did get approved. It did go through, which is going to be a pretty it's going to be a pretty big competitor for Tesla, and it's definitely not going to be good news. So I'm expecting Tesla to have a choppy week this week. Is it going to be bullish on earnings? Well, who knows, right? It's a 50-50, but this symmetrical triangle is still here. It's neutral, which means it's a 50-50 whether it goes up or down. So whether or not if it goes up or down, that's where Tesla's going to go for the next few months, right? If I go on the weekly chart for Tesla, you can see this symmetrical triangle, right? It's been in this consolidation stage for a while now. Possibly this is the same thing as it is for with Amazon and Apple, but the difference is that Tesla actually, Amazon Apple's consolidation started in the September range, where Tesla rocketed all the way up to $800, $900. So there is a chance where Tesla goes back down, but if I go on a logarithmic chart, right, this does look like a typical flag. So either way, depending on how you look at it, it's a 50-50. All right, next chart is going to be SPY. So yeah, I actually haven't talked about SPY yet today. So for SPY, so on the okay, so this is on the weekly, right? And you can see that SPY's weekly candle was really green. I don't think we've had this green week since like February 1st. So last week was a really green week for SPY. We did start out pretty wet red, but we ultimately ended pretty green. And if you look at the daily candlesticks for SPY, right, we do have a gap to fill over here. Possibly we fill it tomorrow, or we fill it when we have a correction. Either way, there's also so if I draw out my resistances, this is a resistance, and if I draw out support, that's not right. Well, support has been at the 50 EMA, so if I draw out like support, we've been trading in this channel for like since like $400, right? Whenever we touch this like resistance up here, we always seem to kind of reject pretty hard, right? We touch it, we reject. This time we've kind of been really weak, and you know, we fell on some news. We finally broke out of this kind of temporary resistance here. We touched the support, the resistance, I'm sorry, the resistance. We had this like bearish news over here. I think this was the Delta virus. So it also depends on earnings tomorrow, right? Tesla has earnings, it's part of SPY. If Tesla does overwhelmingly well, we'll expect SPY to pump. Just like Apple has earnings, just like some other tech stocks. Microsoft, I think, has earnings. Amazon has earnings. All these big, large cap companies. So it really depends on where earnings go. I am expecting a run up though, but also keep in mind that FOMC is on Tuesday, Wednesday, and jobless claims on Thursday. That's 100% gonna shake up the markets. And whenever there's uncertainty in the stock market, people tend to sell and the stock market tends to go down. So I also won't be surprised if we have a red week next week. Next stock is going to be JD, and just, you know, I think thinking about China stocks right now, right? China stocks haven't been doing so well. Take Alibaba for example. Take, you know, all these education groups like TAL, GoTo, and like other stocks like Baidu, Didi. All these companies, they have been hammered with China news, and that's no different for JD, right? So for JD, I'm expecting some sort of let's see here. It has been consolidating. I can't really draw a clean resistance. Yeah, this will be a clean resistance. It's been trading in this kind of like ascending channel a little bit, which does kind of look like a bear flag if you think about it, right? If you go to the weekly chart, this does look like a bear flag, and possibly this can go down even more, right? Especially if China news gets even worse. I'm expecting JD to go more down, but JD is kind of at resistance, at support right now. So this can be a bounce back week for JD, right? There's a giant gap up here to fill, and it ended the day with a hammer, which is bullish. So we can open green tomorrow, or we can, you know, open flat and go up. So short term, this does look like it can bounce. Long term, looks like a bearish. It looks like a bear flag. It also looks like you know, China news is not actually getting any better. So if China does get more bad news, we'll expect JD to go down even more. ATVI. So for ATVI, on the daily, I do see some sort of falling wedge over here. So if I chart out the resistance lines, and then chart out support lines. Why is my computer being slow again? Jeez. Okay. And I chart out support lines. You can see that there's a falling wedge forming for ATVI, and it looks like it did close at resistance. Either way, we can either open green tomorrow and break out of it, or we reject tomorrow and go back down to around the level of $89.30. Either way, this is a bullish pattern. This may have more downside to go, or we can break out tomorrow, so we will just have to see tomorrow. Alright. Hold on, I'm just scrolling through the chat right now. Let me see here. Let me see. QCOM, I did that. AMD, I did that. JD, go to. Okay, Baba. Oh, plug. Let me look at plug first. So for plug, Jesus Christ, my computer is slow today. Alright, come on. Come on. Alright. So for plug, I did draw this descending broadening wedge. It did break out, but it looks like it is doing a retest, which is perfectly fine, right? It looks like it did bounce off the retest. And it's currently consolidating. This does look like a bull flag, and I do think this is going to break out, but also it depends on Tesla earnings, right? It depends on EV sentiment. If Tesla does bad on earnings, well, expect plug to go along with Tesla. If Tesla does overwhelmingly well, and you know, all EV stocks are going to also do the same. So all eyes on Tesla, basically. Baba. So Baba is a Chinese stock. I don't expect Baba to dump even more if there's more bad Chinese news, right? I did draw this giant falling wedge on the weekly because Baba is forming this pattern, but in order for breakout, Baba needs to go all the way down to 190 for that last support retest. So it just shows that Baba is close to a bottom, but also if there's bad Chinese news, well, this can break right through support. So either way, I am expecting Baba to somewhat recover in a few weeks, around, let's say, September 20th, so in like 2 months. Until then, Baba is going to just keep bouncing around. It's going to have a good week, it's going to have a bad week, it's going to get China news, it's going to, you know, get good news, but until then, Baba is going to be Baba, right? So alright, next stock is going to be GoTo. And as I said about these stocks, right, about these education stocks, they have been crashing. GoTo fell from $149 all the way to $3, which is absolute insanity. And China did get new bearish news about education companies over the weekend, so I'm expecting GoTo to go down even further. So I am expecting a big gap down. Twitter. So for Twitter, Twitter did have good earnings on Thursday. Let me see here. It did have pretty good earnings on Thursday. It gapped up, filled the gap, and then went back up. I do see this giant inverse head and shoulders on Twitter. Over here, and over here. Which will allow Twitter to go up even higher. If I draw the zones for the resistance, you can see that this is pretty much the zone over here. So Twitter, after earnings, did bounce off the resistance over here. So I am expecting Twitter to possibly do a retest along in this zone a little bit until breaking back out. But Twitter needs to break the price of $73.20 until it can actually break out and go possibly to all-time highs again. But until then, I am expecting Twitter to kind of consolidate. It might break out again. And you know, depending on bullish tech news or bearish tech news, that's going to also influence Twitter. But social media companies did do really well last week. And I don't expect the momentum to decrease, but Twitter, after all, is a tech stock, and it's going to go along what Apple's going to do, along what Microsoft's going to do, all these big tech companies. So, and especially Facebook. Don't forget about Facebook. All right, PayPal. So if we look at PayPal, PayPal has earnings next week also. And just looking at the technicals, PayPal does look like it's in a rising wedge right now. And if I draw out support, this support's a little bit more messier, but you can see this general picture. It is in a giant rising wedge. It did close at resistance, which is why I think it's going to go down. It does have earnings on the 28th, so that means that's a make or break for PayPal. It can either break resistance and go to all-time highs, or it can break support and go back down and play this rising wedge. So I won't bet a direction for PayPal until earnings, but it is possible there might be an earnings run up, but I won't take that to account very seriously because sometimes stocks are flat or red before earnings, and that's gonna, if you swung like a call or put, it is gonna IV crush your your position, and especially if earnings go really flat or the opposite direction, your contract is going to get beating. So just keep that in mind. Trade desk. So for trade desk, I did chart out something earlier. Oh yeah, okay. So I did chart out a descending broadening wedge, right? So trade desk looks like it did play that out on Friday. It did reject resistance. It did close right at resistance. I'm expecting some kind of consolidation or maybe just a gap up tomorrow again. But on a larger picture, this does look like an inverse head and shoulders. And I am expecting bullish movement for this. So resistance is somewhere along this range over here. So currently it is in resistance. If I want to be more specific, this is resistance. So it just needs to break this zone before going up even higher, possibly to around, let's say around this like 85 range. Let's take a look here. So I did Amazon, Google. So Google also has earnings next week, I'm pretty sure. Yep, Google has it tomorrow, and wow, Google has been on a tear lately. So ever since the September crash, right, Google has went from 1.4K to 2.7K, which is insane. It's actually insane. And Google did break all-time highs again. And just notice how much this replicates the September, right? Look at this. Google, shot up, shoots up, and then it's going to shoot down again. So either way, for Google, I am pretty bullish on Google earnings. Almost every single earnings, Google does gap up. This earning, Google gaps up. This earnings over here. Oh, Google actually gaps down on this earnings. So this earnings, Google gaps up. This earnings, Google gaps up. This one gaps down. But usually Google earnings are pretty bullish, but it is a pretty expensive stock. So if you do want to bet on earnings, you either make a lot of money or lose a lot of money. And also don't buy too out of the money calls because it's going to get IV crushed anyways. Alright, so last stock I'm going to be doing because I actually have to leave pretty soon. And the last stock I'm going to do is going to be Roku. And Roku has made a pretty big run. And wow, just look at that. So Roku did break out of this consolidation over here. Bull flag or descending broadening wedge, whatever you want to interpret this as. It did break out. It had a really green day. This is probably like the greenest day it's ever had, actually. I don't think it's ever had this green of a day. It went from 425 all the way to 473. It almost went up like $50, which is crazy. And it is testing this resistance for its all-time highs. Keep in mind, Roku does have earnings on the 26th, which is tomorrow, actually, if I'm getting this right. July 26th. Yep, it has earnings tomorrow. I don't know why this earnings thing's so far away from this candlestick. That's kind of weird. Yeah, July 26th, right? That's kind of weird. But anyways, yeah. July 23rd, 24th, 25th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st. I don't know why this earnings button says July 26th, but it's showing it on August 4th. So that's kind of weird. Maybe this is wrong, actually. So yeah, does Roku have earnings on 26th or August 4th? I'm gonna say August 4th because I don't remember seeing Roku earnings on the calendar for this week. So it has earnings on August 4th, right? There is a chance we're gonna see consolidation over here, especially after this giant green day. But there's also a chance where we're gonna see Roku to break even higher. So just keep that in mind. But usually when something tests a cup and handle, it doesn't break out the first time, especially when, last time it didn't even test the resistance, right? So this time when we're actually testing all-time highs, I am expecting Roku to do some kind of consolidation before breaking out. So that's it, guys. Make sure to check out our sponsor, which is Step Mobile. Make sure to check it out. Click on the link that I pinned, and it's completely free. There's no fees, no anything, and there's no strings attached to it. So make sure to check that out. If you have any questions, make sure to DM me in the chat, or on Discord. I will try to reply to your DMs, and also make sure to stay safe, stay risk managed. Even though next week seems like a pretty bullish week, there's also going to be many factors where it can be bearish. For example, FOMC on Tuesday and Wednesday, jobless claims on Thursdays, and if earnings don't go well, don't expect the stock market to play out very well. So that's it for the stream today, and I hope to see you in the next stream. And also, by the way, watch list is coming out in a couple of hours, so make sure to do that. So I'll see you guys in the next stream.